Hi guys, I'm Nate from Recap Now. Today, I'm going to recap a 2019 comedy drama movie called Sonoftherich. When an ill-behaved guy from a wealthy family wakes up in a 19th century village and finds he is a peasant, his naughty demeanor is called into question. Grisha's money and charisma allow him to easily impress and intimidate others. One night in a pub, he drinks with a strange woman and invites her to his car. Grisha, refusing to comply with his sensuous desire, throws the woman out of his prestigious automobile as he races down the highway. Grisha ignores the police officers pursuing him, assuming that his money will stop them. He fails to bribe the officer, therefore the cop stops him from driving away. The reckless driver ignores the officer and speeds away, injuring him physically. When Grisha is detained, his father, Pavel, always pays the compensation to resolve his son's cases. Overburdened by his son's repeated humiliation of his name, Pavel seeks relief with his TV producer friend, Nastya. Following their stress-relieving company, Nastya suggests a psychologist with unique ways who can assist him with his son's problem. On their trip to the psychotherapist, Nastya confesses that she knows him from a horror film they worked on together. When they enter the psychologist's office, Lev greets them warmly. Then, Nastya focuses live on Pavel's major problem with his out-of-control son, demonstrating some of his unconventional methods. Lev questions Pavel on his willingness to go to any length to solve his problem, such as topping up his mock-up fingers. Pavel dashes out of the room before hearing the proposal. Later that night, Grisha leaves the bar and discovers that his car has been towed away. He rushes towards the truck, but someone shoots him, knocking him out. Grisha wakes up disguised as a stableman and is unable to think straight, believing that he is either too inebriated or that his valuables have been taken. Brushka, a fellow stableman, warns him that someone named Afday is looking for him before urging him to hide. Halfday arrives and kicks Grisha out for failing to saddle the horses as directed. Moments later, Alex, the landowner's son, appears on a horse and hands Avda his whip, indicating that Grisha must be shredded. Fortunately, the landowner, Master Dmitri, jumps in and insists that he should determine who is whipped. Grisha, who is still trying to figure out what's going on, says it's just a peculiar celebration by the wealthy. However, he is proven wrong when the landlord requests an update to punish him for failing to explain where his horse is. Following that, Proshka orders Grisha to obey the landlord and do what he is ordered. Grisha hurries out to find a phone to call his father for help, unable to believe it. Unfamiliar with the area, he dives into a river, only to get caught in a net. The village chef, Lyub, gives Grisha with clothing, but the man complains about everything about the century in which he lives. Moments later, they hear Avday's voice in the distance, still looking for his horse. Grisha attempts to flee, but is caught again by the whip. Grisha believes this is only a nightmare he'll wake up from since he's about to be hanged for breaking their stringent rule for fleeing peasants. While the rope is around his neck, the landlord's daughter, Aglia, orders Avday to stop hanging. However, Avday insists that he cannot ignore her father's instructions. Even her brother, Alexei, scornfully rejects his sister's plea. To avoid hanging the villagers on her birthday, Aglia begs her father to stop the killings. Master Dmitri readily agrees to save his friend's life. Proshka shows deep gratitude to the lady. Grisha, on the other hand, continues to be bewildered and unable to communicate. When the lady leaves, Proshka notices a bird soaring overhead and refers to it as the bird of death. The bird flies into a cabin, where a guy waits to catch it, revealing it to be a drone disguised as a bird. As Nastya, Lev, and Pavel descend the stairs, it becomes clear that the cabin is nothing more than a stage set. Grisha's fear of horses influences how he travels through time and becomes a stableman. During his break from the scene, Anton, the professional actor who plays Alexei, invites his horse trainer girlfriend, Lisa, to join him in the forest. Unbeknownst to them, the producers inside overhear their flirtations via a microphone affixed to the actor. Unintentionally, the playwright hands Lisa a script, which she declines, arguing that she does not need one because she is not an actress and merely in care of the horses. After rewinding everything in his thoughts, Grisha believes he is dead and is now in hell. Proshka stops his daydreams and tells him to continue his work as if it were a movie. Grisha believes he was transported back in time after being hit by a car. Proshka, not thinking clearly, asks what film he is referring about. Hearing this, Proshka thinks that what he has said could be a plot hole because there are no movies at this time. Frightened that he will be questioned, the actor calms down when Risha just states that Proshka will not understand what he is saying because he is discussing colored flicks. The next morning, Grisha wakes up complaining about how difficult it is to sleep on the ground. As the day progresses, he gradually blends into the hamlet, working on horses and eating drab meals. Grisha remarks at night that he's gotten used to the place, but he still misses something. Brushka feels his friend is missing a woman. However, Risha is simply missing the internet. In the days that follow, Pavel is impatient to watch his son's improvement. Lev assures it in the next scene. The father will finally witness the character development he desires from him on the field. Grisha discovers Aglia crying over her father's sudden decision to arrange her marriage to a wealthy older man. Grisha comforts the lady by telling her to be happy, because it merely means that the man she will marry will die shortly. Later that day, Grisha shows Proshka the chicken he took from the landlord, despite his friend's warning. Risha continues to cook chicken soup and eats it all. As a result, when Avde discovers that the landlord's chicken has gone stolen, Risha refuses to confess, allowing his friend to face the consequences. Observing that nothing has changed with his son Pavel, he demands that Lev act decisively. For Grisha to change, the psychologist believes that someone must die as a result of his acts. Nastya interjects, asking Lev why he is continuously associating everything with death and violence. Pavel is taken aback by her abrupt outburst, and his surprise is compounded when Lev admits that he and Nastya were previously married. Meanwhile, Prushka shows Grisha his faked bruises, hoping the man will show some empathy, which he still lacks. After Nastya chastises her colleagues for their shortcomings, Pavel confronts her for not disclosing her true history with Lev. The woman says that there is no need to address it because her relationship with Pavel exists purely to relieve tension. Grisha observes Lisa's modern-styled undergarments after she climbs from her horse. He rushes over to the lady, demanding where she got her underwear, and without thinking, he pulls her skirt, exposing that she isn't wearing it anymore. Lisa instantly flees with her horse, leaving her underpants in the grass for days with no changes. Pavel expresses his dissatisfaction towards everyone. He immediately calms down as a staff member reveals that his son is now looking for Lisa to honestly repent for his behavior towards her. Grisha apologizes, and the woman forgives him. Lisa chats to Lev around sunset and asks him how he knew Grisha would apologize to her. Lev admits that he has no idea and only believes on the night of Ivan Kupala, a customary celebration. Risha's pals emphasize that whoever he spends the night with will stay with him for the rest of his life. Grisha begins the celebration by teaching the crowd how to dance to a current beat. Aglia catches his attention and encourages them to have fun before drowning herself in the lake. Later that night, Aglia gets ready for her most anticipated scene with Grisha on the lake. On the other hand, the man she is waiting for spends the night with Lisa, telling her about his life in the modern world. Despite Proshka's efforts to get Grisha to meet Aglia on the lake, Grisha is engrossed with telling Lisa stories. Lisa changes the subject of the talk when she sees Projector bring something to her and yells at Proshka, asking if he has already discovered Aglia. Plushka says that he hasn't seen her yet, worried that she has gone to the lake and something bad will happen. Grisha runs for Aglia after recalling her threat to drown. When the producer sees the man approaching, he instructs Aglia to appear to drown. Grisha then saves the woman. The guy refuses to be taken home, so the man transports her into an abandoned carriage. Even with her charming overtures, the woman is unable to entice the man to sleep with her. Grisha returns to the celebration in search of Lisa. When he realizes Lisa is no longer at the party, he goes down to her apartment to find her. Following Grisha, the producers inform Lisa and the rest of the cast that the man is after her. The performers in the room quickly hide while Lisa changes her costume. When Risha opens the door, she invites her for a walk. Lisa refuses, citing her intoxicated partner's continuous coughing as an explanation and claiming he is her ailing father. As a result of the events of the previous night, Lev informs Lisa of the changes to their tale. Lisa has been the most important person in Grisha's life since she captured his gaze. For these reasons, Lisa eventually agrees to play an important role in Grisha's character development story. In the imaginary universe, Avdi delivers the landlord's inebriated son, who trampled a constable the night before. The landlord assigns Prashka and Grisha to saddle the horse since he is heading to the city to deal with the problem his son has created. While Prashka is embarrassed by Alexei's behavior, Risha envies him for having fun after seeing Lev and Nastya giggle. Pavel approaches the psychologist, telling him that if he and Nastya rekindle their relationship, he deserves to know. At this point, Lev says that Nastya's recent actions, such as seeking assistance from her estranged ex, demonstrate how much she loves Pavel. When Grisha returns from the city, the landlord suggests that he disguise himself as his son and accept responsibility and punishment for Alexei's actions in exchange for his freedom. Grisha accepts the punishment and gets whipped twice, 12 times. Meanwhile, his father storms out of the cabin, unable to endure witnessing his son's suffering. Days later, Risha comes to the landlord's estate to collect the documentation for his release, as promised. Instead of locating the landlord, Risha finds Alexei in his father's office and asks if he can give him the documents. Alexei agrees and encourages Grisha to sit, only to stop the chair and cause the stableman to fall. Alexei is furious, claiming that despite their agreement, he would not allow Grisha to flee servitude. Risha, who was about to strike the man, controls his fury and instead leaves the estate. As Grisha and Lisa become closer, she shows him how. He assists her in fetching water for horses and even takes them boating. Grisha finds the drone bird malfunctioning without a transmitter as he walks across the hill. Lisa can't hear the producer's directions on what to do, so she diverts Risha's attention by explaining that the bird has been her guardian angel since she was a child. In contrast to Praksha's assertion that the bird of death is tired of waiting inside the mansion, Paulina, the actress who plays Aglia, believes that Lisa seduces Grisha on purpose in order to obtain a role. She also tells Anton that his girlfriend will eventually choose Grisha over him, arguing that Paulina is simply sad since she never had a chance with Grisha. While going along the road, the two players share intimate glances, both of whom are missing their joys. Risha and Lisa observed the abandoned carriage shaking. They open the door to check on it and discover Anton and Paulina enjoying an intimate moment inside. Lisa, who is with her boyfriend, immediately flees when she hears the news. Lev fires the two performers due to their disrespectful behavior. 2 days later, Risha launches his own fine dining establishment, catering solely to Lisa. After observing the woman's misery for days, this is the only thing Grisha can think of to comfort her under the night sky. Lisa admits Grisha's actions, explaining how he recognized himself in Alexei's bad behavior. Grisha decides that he was transported to this time period to see himself from a different perspective. With this realization, Lisa enthusiastically kisses the man, and the individuals behind this plot are overjoyed to see Grisha's attitude shift. Meanwhile, the terminated actress comes on a television broadcast, claiming that Risha is being tortured by making him believe he is trapped in the past. Polina reports that the tests that drove the man nuts included beatings, forcing her to make love with him, and feeding him pigs. Pavel wants to finish their project sooner now that the authorities are looking into it, claiming that the moment has not yet come. Lev argues that, despite Risha's realization, knowing without doing is still pointless due to a lack of time to carry out their original plan. For Grisha to conduct a heroic act, they must first devise a new strategy that includes a final battle with an opposing army. While Lisa and Grisha are enjoying a meaningful talk, Brushka informs them that the invaders have arrived and must be present or the settlement will be burned. In his search for the most beautiful woman to marry, the father of the woman picked by the invaders' leader makes an attempt to save her. The boss promises to return his daughter on the condition that he face their greatest fighter. So the father and intruder fight one-on-one. Grisha, along with the beaten father, is scared when the best fighter displays the challenger's prosthetic head. Now that the father has exchanged his life for his daughter, the invaders release her in recognition of her father's valor. However, they must look for another bride. When the leader chooses Lisa, they inquire whether the lady has a guardian to save her. Everyone glances at Grisha, who has no idea what to do, leaving the disappointed Lisa in the hands of the acting invaders. Everyone rejoices as Grisha returns on horseback to save his beloved wife, assuming the conclusion of their scheme. The lovers flee just as the cops arrive looking for the guy in command of this performance. The cop walks away nervously after explaining that they are filming Pavel and Nastia's wedding. Meanwhile, the joyful couple on the horse ultimately arrives at the highway and discovers a modern gas station. Lisa's attempt to explain to Grisha is cut short when he collapses on the ground after a sniper shoots him to sleep. When Grisha wakes up, his father tells him that he has been in a coma for 3 months. The transformed man surrounds himself with grief, spending his days in nightclubs and driving around town. One night in the club, he finds across Polina and Anton and confronts them. Grisha apologizes when they say they don't understand what he's talking about. Feeling terrible for him, the two decide to take him to Lisa's actual office the next day. When Lisa arrives to the horse training facility, the couple kiss passionately, implying how much they miss each other. They subsequently encounter Pavel, who is currently shooting a post-wedding photo session with his wife, Nastia. After apologizing and thanking his father, the two spouses pose for a family portrait. Back in their made-up historical period production, another wealthy man's kid is now trapped, blabbering about his societal ability to influence and alter the man's behavior. Grisha joins the production as the new executioner. Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed the recap. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell for more movie recaps. Stay tuned for our next cinematic adventure, and until then, happy watching.